Hello and welcome to Cheshire Audio. Well, what we're going to do today, we've got a Rega Planar 3 on the bench, and what we're going to do is change the lift lower device on this, because what's happening is it's not dropping. It's not dropping at all. Well, no, actually, no, it's going, but it's basically the lift lower is very, very slow, and it's not working as we need. So what we're going to do is change this device here, which isn't quite as straightforward as it looks. It's a bit fiddly. I mean, it's not an insurmountable thing to do. It's just a bit more involved than it at first looks, really. Before we do that, though, I mean, occasionally what tends to happen is, I mean, in the case of this deck, this hasn't been used for a good while, really. And what can happen is the actual grease within here can sort of basically dry out. And the way to try and free that up as a first sort of attempt at this, the first thing to do is to, if you put your finger on and lower and push it down and bring it back up, and put your finger on and lower, and just keep doing that, and eventually, in most cases, that will just warm up the grease a little bit and just get it moving around and freeze everything up. Now, I've done this one, I've tried this before with this, and I think actually it's easier just to replace the part on this, because this is a trade-in and we're going to be selling it on, so we always like to make them as good as possible, really, when we take them in. So yeah, I don't think, just try it again, probably prove myself wrong that it's slightly quicker, but it's still too slow. It's still barely dropping, really. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is show you how to change that. I mean, you could actually disassemble this, but take this out, disassemble it, take all the grease out of it, and replace the grease. I have sort of done that in years past, but the amount of effort in doing that, and quite often they don't work anyway after you've finished. You might as well, because this part is, I have one here. We sell these on the site. It's straight from Rega, genuine part, fits all the decks, apart from one which I'll actually show you later. Yeah, it fits all the decks. £21, or at the time of filming, £21. But so yeah, it's not an expensive part, and it's just easier just to swap it if you feel like having a go. There you go. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to show you how to do that, and I'll reposition the camera, and we'll go for it. Right. So this is an earlier deck. So what we're going to do is take the arm off. There's a screw here, and a large nut there to take off. On more recent turntables, I can't think when they actually brought this in, really, but certainly the recent planers, I think the RPs as well, they actually had three sort of screws or bolts here, depending on the era of it, and they'd either have an Allen head, or sometimes cross head, sometimes Torx actually in there. So you'd remove the arm, you'd take the screw out underneath, which is little. Basically, that's just strain relief on the cable to stop it yanking out the bottom. So you take that out first, and then more recent decks you'd unscrew the arm from the top and take out. With these, you take out from underneath. So I'm just trying to stick the camera. That's a bit better. A bit dark under here, but anyway, let's just give it a go. See how it looks. So I'll take the screw out. Normally I'd turn this upside down, but I just thought, what the hell? Let's live a bit more dangerously and do it from underneath. Right, let's take that off. Just rescue my little clip. I'm trying to knock the camera over. I've actually got my Rega special tool, which is basically just a large spine, which I can't use underneath because I can't see what I'm doing. Yeah, that's it. Tend not to be very tight, these, because you don't really want to over tighten the arms on these. So. There you go. So take that off the end of the cable. Obviously it gets knotted up when you're doing it. Okay, so now we should be able to just take the arm out. should just lift straight out. There you go, we have the arm. Right, the tools we need, literally all you need is a pair of very fine-nosed pliers, a 1.3mm Allen key. Sometimes these are actually labelled as 1.27, but generally the 1.3s, they tend to come in the big sets. It's for quite the smaller sets tend not to have these in. And spare part. And a cup of tea and a very, very nice Cheshire Audio mug, which is for sale. We sell these. Right, so let's begin. I'll just try and find a good position for the camera to be in. So probably there. Yeah, okay. Right, the first thing to do is you need to take off the lift lower. So there's a little grub screw here. This, if you've watched the how to adjust your arm lift lower height video, you'll see how to do this. Basically, just tiny little grub screw there. Loosen that off. Loosen it off quite well. Make sure you don't do it so far that it actually falls out, because chances are you'll never see it again. So it should. Sometimes they need a bit of persuasion to come off. A bit of wiggling. There you go. So that's off. Oh, I forgot to mention on here. Just make sure when you're doing this, and I've done it. Come on, look. Just make sure your stylus is protected. So I've just pulled down the cover on that. Generally, I'd probably take the weight off as well, but obviously forgot to do that. Right, where we're up to now. So we've got, you can actually see the mechanism in there. There's a cap on the bottom. So what you need to do is to get your long nose pliers. There will be special tools for this. I can't remember what they're called now, but there is a special tool for doing it. But normal people tend not to have those. So very, very fine long nose pliers do it really well. Obviously, if you're quite careful with this, don't want to wreck your pliers, you don't want to wreck the parts, so just very carefully. Yeah, okay. Very carefully. It's just, yeah, that's what you don't do. Don't do that. It's actually quite fiddly, and it's particularly when you're trying to film it as well. Yeah, okay. We're going. There you go. So there we have the part. You can actually see when you look at it how it, the little plunger inside, there's a little cam at the bottom that lifts it up and down. Like I say, you can disassemble it, but really, I mean, the actual time involved in doing that, and whether or not, because quite often they're just worn out. It's not necessarily the grease that's causing the issue. It's quite often the things are just worn out. So, you know, like I say, for the price of the part, you might as well scrap it and start again. And also, you get a nice new one of these, because these tend to, as they get older, they tend to harden up, and you get. It's quite common actually. People blame anti-skate, which I wish they wouldn't call it anti-skate. Blame the bias for the arm drifting as you're queuing, and it's what it is this rubber hardens up and it loses its grip, so the arm is sliding around on it, and it doesn't keep it in position when you're queuing it. So nice new one of these, and you don't have those problems. So you can do this without any more disasters. Right, I'm just going to stop for a sec while I just double check everything. Okay, I've just disassembled the new one, just ready for fitting. So you loosen that off to take it off. This unscrews off the top. We also need to rescue the old cap out of there. Let's just take that. Just to keep that away. So we've got all the new parts together. Right, so to fit this, we need to position it that way around. Should be a little. See, there's a little locating part there. So I want that to go in like that. Get your finger underneath. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Just be sure you don't lose the spring out as well, because that's another potential for disaster. Right, so get on as far as you can. They do turn a certain amount just with your fingers actually. Let's see if we can do this time a bit more effectively. You don't need to go mad with tightening these up really. I think if you just nip it up. I think if it's too slack, the whole body will rotate. So actually, if you've got the tone arm and the mechanism, sometimes you find that the levers move side to side a little bit. All you need to do is actually this procedure. If you just strip it down to this point and then just give it a little nip up like that, that's plenty. And now I'm going to put this on. Normally I just do this on the deck actually, because you need to adjust the height, but what I'll do, just for the sake of the video, I shall do it now. And you want it to come out of the, well, to be positioned so that the actual, this arc is at sort of at this point is at 90 degrees with the tone arm, so it's because the arm is then following out in that direction. Right, we're fitted. So what I'll do now is fit it to the deck and we'll set the height up and ready to go. Okay, I've refitted the tone arm. I mean, basically the reverse of what we did earlier. So you put the nut back on, basically finger tight, as you know, get it as tight as you can, sort of finger tight. There is an argument for finger tight being enough with these, because you don't really want to over tighten them, but I tend to just give it a bit of a nip up with the spanner as well, because otherwise they work loose quite quickly. So just a slight nip to tighten it up. If it's too tight, it actually, I think there's too much transference of vibration and things like that. They don't sound as good if you over tighten them, and they don't sound as good if you under tighten them. So there's like a sweet spot. It's not massive differences, but it's one of those things that when you've done it a few times, you start to pick up on these sort of things. But yeah, so to finger tight, and then just a little, probably an eighth of a turn, just to stop it moving around really. Right, so I'm just going to move the camera again, see if we can actually be a bit fluky with this recently. That's what we'll need to do, is just check. Now this is, I doubt whether this is anywhere near being correct, so yeah, that's way too low. So you probably can't see that there. Yeah, way too low at the moment. Moving quite nicely, but yeah, so that's in the high position and it's still already too low. So right, okay, so what we need to do is do an adjustment. Try my camera position. The camera work is terrible, and I've lost my arm kick. Hang on. There you go. So what I shouldn't have done is tighten this up now really, but anyway. So slack off. We should be able to move it up. If you do it in the up position, then you're not fighting against the mechanism. Tighten down. I think that's too high actually, but for the sake of demonstration. Oh, actually, not too crazy yet. So yeah, it's sort of sitting. Yeah, probably it's a bit too high actually, but working nicely. So with a bit of fiddling about, I should be able to just give it one more shot. Otherwise, you're going to get too boring with it. OCD coming out here. Just give it a bit. Oh yeah. Yeah, actually, the newer ones are very keen to. Very keen to move. The older ones are actually quite difficult once they've been tightened down a few times. They sort of get stuck in a position. They're actually quite hard to adjust, but like I said, the new ones are more than eager. Yeah, it's probably spot on actually. I mean, always check it with the record. I'm just sort of, just for the sake of the video. Yeah, I'm not let it drop onto the mat, or we're getting angry people in the comments. So there you go, we're all done. Just need to set that tone arm up. It's somewhat heavy at the moment, so I need setting up anyway. So if anybody spots that, don't make comments on the tone arm setup. I know it's not set up. Okay, so it's ready to go. If you've got any questions about your turntable, not necessarily just Rega. I mean, we do we do cover quite a few brands, mostly British brands, so Lane System Deck, Pink Triangle, Early Thorances, which are obviously German. We cover Project, we do Nottingham Analog, Michel, the Jara deck and the Ore, we've got quite a lot of experience with. But also don't forget that we do service turntables. We do sort of, we will look after your turntable for you, but we're actually sort of sales. We sell the new stuff. We do turntables, amp speakers, that sort of thing, full systems. That's our main thing here. But we just partly got to love the decks. We've sort of formed this sort of knowledge over the years of what can go wrong and whatever, and we like keeping them going. We do sort of. I think it's a shame that a lot of these decks can be scrapped over quite simple faults because people don't understand what's wrong with them. So that's the point of these videos, really, is just to keep a lot of these decks going, because okay, this deck is now 40 years old, but it's still got a lot of life in it, and there's nothing, why not? It still sounds great. It's probably not this Planar 3. It's not as good as the new Planar 3, but it's not far behind. It's surprising. They perform well. They're a good second-hand buy. So yeah. So if you've got any questions, feel free to give us a call. You can ring us on the number, which I shall put at the bottom here. Email as well. Put the email again across the bottom of here. You can leave comments below, but we tend not to see them very very frequently. So it's better if you phone or email. Really, you'll get a quick response to that. Any questions at all? Just give us a call. So thanks for that. I hope you enjoyed the video. Got a few other ideas of what we're going to be doing. I mean, partly as well, we sort of keep getting asked about cartridges that match Regas, and it's not unusual to get a deck coming in, and a bit like this one, really. I mean, that's a 1990s-ish, 2000 sort of Autophon, which will be changing. But what cartridge is the sort of modern equivalent of? And I've had decks coming in at 30 odd years old, and they've still got original cartridge on. So we are quite good at sort of finding equivalents because we've been around for a long time. So anyway, so I'm waffling again. I'll leave it at that. Keep safe, and see you again.